Hi, welcome to the Winners Find a Way show. I am your host, Trent Clark, and this is a special edition of the Winners Find a Way show I like to call the best in the world. And I am in my cabin in northern Michigan today, and the best in the world do things that other people don't do. They do them better than other people don't do. And the best in the world begin and extend moral conditioning into their life. I loved John Wooden in his pyramid of success. He talks about all these different blocks of the pyramid that become so important. And when he talks about conditioning, he certainly talks about mental, physical conditioning, and then he talks about moral conditioning. And one of the recent things I've seen in our society, I've seen as kids have played out, we're losing this moral conditioning aspect to our training and our upbringing, and it's being lost. I think it's limited now in our school curriculum. It's being limited in the homes in a lot of ways. So one of the challenges of getting better is, what are you feeding your mind? What are you feeding your heart? And everything, as we know, comes from the heart. So it's so important that we dive into that a little bit. And as we've talked about that, uh, a lot of folks have looked into, like, hey, where do I misstep? Where are my ethics, my values? We've now talked about culture in the workplace, culture of our teams, our values of our organization. If we aren't instilling those values at every opportunity and conditioning those values, then and upholding them, of course, how does our organization and our teams advance? I loved a good friend of mine, John Bloomberg, talked about creating value with your values inside your organizations. And he's got some great written material on that in his writings. He's got a number of books, John Bloomberg, and they're excellent exercises to talk about what's really important to us. It also is a huge factor in getting the right players on our team. This is probably one of the biggest challenges I see in organizations today, whether it be business or sport. They spend very little time getting the right people on their teams and organizing those right people in the right seats. And it's challenging to watch organizations who sometimes have a ton of talent, who are not organized well, and they're not sitting in the right seats. Or I see a great product, I see a great potential in an organization, and they never worked diligently to get the right people along that share the values of the leadership, that share the vision of everyone else around them, and their work ethic, and those things that are so valuable in our moral conditioning and how we gauge our heart, how we treat other people. All these things become such a huge facet. As athletes, I will tell you this is massive, because when you're coming up in recruiting and people are looking at you as a potential for their team and their organization, whether it's sports or business, people are watching, and they're watching everything. Everything is being watched. So it's being watched at what you put on your resume. Is this all honest? Have you been very forthright about the information you're providing? How do you treat people? So many people have interview processes to put you in front of people just to see how you interact and how you treat others, especially wait staff, service folks. They see you at the hotels, they see you at restaurants, they see you at dinners, all these things. How are you treating the people around you that are serving you? How do you step in and serve others? Other uh, Many people have it set so that when they go into an interview or a process of evaluation, they put you in certain situations where you will have to serve, be a teammate, coach, work alongside, learn, adapt to a situation. And they're seeing and watching, how do you do that? Because this is going to happen a ton in our job. And the good organizations are going to do that because they want to know if they can coach you up in that, or do you have a morality or lack of conditioning in this to be able to treat others well, to serve them? Is your heart in the right place. And so as I was coming up, I'm a very undersized athlete, especially on the professional ranks and even on the Division 1 athletic rank. So I knew that I didn't have room for error. So my moral conditioning all of a sudden became very important on the decisions that I had to make because I had to obtain a high level of values and ethics in order to assure that I didn't eliminate any opportunity for an organization because I didn't think at that top level I would have very many opportunities. I was right in that. I did not have tons of opportunities. I am not the superstar athlete who came out and turned down, 20 Division 1 offers because I was such a superstar and ranked in the top 10 in America in my chosen sports. So most people don't have that. So positioning ourselves is part about being prepared for what's about to happen, but it's also positioning ourselves for opportunity without eliminating ourselves from opportunities inside good organizations. And the better you're morally conditioned, the better opportunity you have. People want ethics, right? They want what did Wooden want, right? He wanted the cornerstones first of his pyramid, right? Which was, uh, do you work hard? Industriousness. Are you willing to work hard? And do you absolutely have enthusiasm and passion for what you're doing? And so that's awesome. Hey, I'm a hard worker and I have enthusiasm. Now, all of a sudden, if we've established those two things, all these other things come into play, right? Teamwork, how we treat others, how we treat ourselves. Do we operate with respect? How do our language? How do we carry ourselves? What's our first impression? All these things. And as that comes in lockstep with your moral conditioning, you become a complete package. Someone that's offering something to an organization, a contribution to an organization that's critical. When we have gaps in that contribution, all of a sudden we have issues. Then we have team members who all of a sudden are under fire because they're not treating people with respect. And the gap in our synergy inside the organization is widening, right? We're not coming together as a cohesive unit. We're separating because these moral and ethical conditions keep changing. It's like, well, just tell Brian that, I talked to the client first. So that commission's mine. So they're going to lose $40,000 on that commission. Like, whoa. And all of a sudden we have a serious financial gap. Someone didn't do something ethically and the gap is widening in our team. We're not bringing ourselves together in a cohesive unit. We're coming apart. So it becomes so important that as an individual, we do it ourselves. So let's talk about the how. How do I condition myself morally for this? I know physically how to condition. I go out, I train X amount of days a week, and I get myself ready. I eat better. I put better nutrition, better fuel into this body to help me get to where I want to go. So, physical conditioning, tons of information on the internet. You can find all sorts of different workouts. Do it. So important. All weave together, by the way. So, that's one. Mental conditioning. We have to be aware of our health, our mental awareness, so many things. So we have to do mental conditioning, preparedness for what's about to happen, do that vision work, walk through visually and mentally through the next steps, preparedness in our mind, what may happen and decisions we may have to make along the way. Very important. Our moral conditioning is a fabric and training of our heart. And the moral conditioning becomes how do we do that? So we start with a foundation, which is whatever we had as kids growing up. We had a moral fabric of what was established. Did our parents model that? Did they model good things for us? Did they show you and teachers around you were they moral and ethical? One of the questions I ask in all of our interviews is tell me about an ethical conflict you've had in your life. And the reality is everybody's had one. Everybody's had things where they've seen in their life and they were caught up in someone lying about something, even if it's as simple as like, well, my friend Teresa was over at my house, or for me, my friend Roger was at my house, but he lied to his parents and told them that he wasn't staying at my house, he was staying at somebody else's house. And for whatever reason, like all of a sudden, I'm in the middle of an ethical dilemma. Like, hey, I don't want to be a part of your lie, and you're telling someone something that's untrue, and then I'm going to be in trouble for it when this all comes down and you're at my home and you weren't supposed to be there. So there's all sorts of ethical dilemmas. That's a minor one. We see people lying on their expense reports. We see people doing things that aren't morally and ethically right. So in that, I like to talk about that with people and what they face. How did they deal with it? We are going to deal with moral and ethical dilemmas in our life. And like every challenge, challenges make us stronger. It makes us think out of the box. It makes us look at it through a different lens. It creates different environments about how we're going to do that. So I love that people are willing to lean into that challenge, and even if they muck it up and they missed and got it wrong the first time, like we talk about all the lessons you learn from ethically and morally not doing it right. And if we aren't conditioned for it, just like a physical challenge, we're not going to do well, right? If someone called me tomorrow and said, "Hey, let's run a 10-mile race," I'm not going to do well. I am not physically conditioned for that today. I've been conditioned for that in my life. Today is not that day. I am not conditioned for that right now. So I'm going to fail. So if I'm not morally conditioning, when these moral and ethical issues come up and I'm not conditioned for it, it's the same. I am likely to fail these moral situations, these ethical dilemmas that we're facing. I'm not likely to manage it well, to choose the wrong things. And so I must be very aware of how I'm going to target and do something about this issue. So how do I condition? I condition first by starting out is get up in the morning and read something of moral and character and ethics, whether that's a biography of someone you respect, people that have faced it, whether there's tons of motivational content, there's tons of content on morals and ethics. The Bible obviously has tons of information in that. Read something that motivates you, that centers you in a day, that gets you going to where you want to be and what direction you're going. Then next thing is during the day, take some breaks for you. Know very quickly about, what you're not about. If you're saying, one of the things I think that's very important in in conditioning is avoidance. Avoiding situations that have put you in moral, ethical dilemmas in the past. And there are situations and signs of that do come about, and you being aware of that and not going back to those same locations. This is one of the challenges we see in people with addiction, right? They have battles like, I don't want to go back. I don't want to, but yet they're hanging around people that put them in those situations, or they go to places that cause those same urges and challenges. Avoidance is huge, right? Three, write down your personal code of morals and ethics. Write down what you want for your family. Maybe your family has a family code. Right? You may have it in your business or your organization. Get clarity around that and review that regularly. Don't just write it down once and go, "Oh, hey, we did that once. We wrote ourselves down a moral code, and now, yeah, every once in a while we follow it." No, like be aware of it. Good organizations manage off that moral code. They manage off their morals and ethics. I love that Tony Hasai back in the day, he's passed, not with us any longer, but Tony, when he started Zappos, Tony believed in these are our values here at Zappos, and this is what I want. And so he thought that was very important to the organization and to the culture. And so if someone inside that organization came in and was trained, there's a minimum of like 6, 7 interviews before you get hired at Zappos. And then when they do, it's a 2-week training. After 1 week, that training, the training stopped and is like, "Hey, you've been aware of all the morals and ethics and our values here at Zappos, and we're going to ask you to uphold them in all cases. And if you do not uphold them in any case, is a right of termination is possible." I'm not saying they will terminate you, but that is possible. So you sign and agree that, "Hey, I'm ready to move forward with this organization." If you're not, he said, "That's okay. I'm paying you, I think it was $5,000 to step away and not be a part of Zappos anymore. And we wish you well." And I mean, he established the code of values and ethics right from the beginning, and then he managed against it, which is simple, but brilliant. Brilliant. And so today, when you look at your values and stand on it, we have to be able to stand on our morals, ethics, and values and those reasons you have for that. Write down what it is for you and it can change, right? You can shape these over years. When you review this, if you do a quarterly review, great. Go through a quarterly review, a deep dive into your morals, ethics, and your statement of your values inside your organization. If you need to change it, change it, adapt it. Great, not a problem. But every day you should be just like you're physically, mentally, and morally conditioning. Bring that in. Right? And we are physically conditioning, right? We have our watches. Hey, how many steps did I get? We're doing a monitor of our physical every day. Mental check ins, very wise, very smart. Moral, do a moral check in every day. Condition yourself for that next level. The best in the world are physically, mentally, and morally conditioned. You can be the best in the world too. Go out there and do it. Thank you for joining us on the Winners Find a Way show. Always every Friday, 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. Welcome a new guest. If you missed last week, we had World Series champion Bobby Magianis' interview recorded. Check us out on the YouTube channel or anywhere where you can find our shows. Podcasts are on all major networks. See you next time.